Hey all, Payne Marine here with another in the Crosshairs video, this time looking at the new Warhammer community article that is focusing on creating your own chapter and the chapter tactics and kind of how they'll work in the new codex. This is a big piece of the puzzle that we kind of really wanted to, I think everybody really wants to know on how this would work and how this will all play out. I was definitely very interested, and I'm still kind of, it's not exactly clear in this article 100%. It kind of gives you some of the clues, but what's really not clear is what are some of the options that we get to choose from. So yeah, let's quickly dive into this. There's not really a whole lot to talk about because the article is pretty straightforward. It just kind of starts out with, basically how to start your own chapter or the benefits of starting your own chapter. So it just talks about creating your own lore, your successor chapters, all that. This right here is pretty interesting to me. This is most likely, my guess is, what that other side of the poster that comes in that special edition codex is going to look like. So this is those chapters that are featured on there. Already I see some pretty cool honorable mentions. The Cacarodons, definitely top tier right there. We got some Blood Ravens. What else we got here? What's another one? I'm trying to find where my salamanders at. My salamander buddies at. There they are down here. Salamanders. Got Emperor Spears, another one I was like over here, looking good. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure this is that poster, which is the only thing out of that limited edition that I really would want. But like I said, I won't be getting that unless somebody's happens to be selling it on eBay. But I'm sure it'll be, if they are selling it by itself, it's probably gonna be quite an outrageous price. I don't know if this will ever be available elsewhere on its own or not, but yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, so then again, just more talking about how to, kind of create your own lore, your own color schemes and stuff like that. Choosing your own chapter, or choosing your chapter. Creating its own history. Coming down with, now this is where we start to get into the chapter tactics side of it. So let's get to read that. But that's not the only. But that's not all. With this new codex, you can now decide how they fight in Battle 2 by creating your own custom chapter tactics for your newly founded successor chapter. You do this by picking any combination of 2 successor tactics from the 19 listed in the Codex Space Marines. Each successor tactic provides the chapter with a powerful in-game ability, whether you choose a combination that suits a particular narrative you have in mind or simply favor devastating battlefield combos. It's up to you. There's a huge variety of outcomes available, ranging from one extreme to another. In fact, you can even directly replicate the chapter tactic of the first founding chapter according to its genetic heritage in the lore, or one on which you've chosen to base the successor chapter on for your own creation. So this is one of the questions I had initially was, if you have a custom chapter that's supposed to be a successor of a first founding, is it possible to use that specific chapter's chapter tactic? And yes, because basically what your chapter tactic becomes is Inheritors of the Primarch. If you select this successor chapter, you cannot select the second one. You select one of the following chapters and use their chapter tactic. So Ultramarines, Imperial Fist, White Scars, Red Guard, Salamanders, Iron Hand. So the main codex. Now notice this does not say anything about the Dark Angels, Blood Angels, or what else am I thinking of? Space Wolves and Grey Knights. It just has the Marine chapters we normally find in the Codex. So, I mean, that's good to know. That was a big question I had. Now, my other question still is, with these supplements coming out, what's going to make them different is probably the stratagems that are available to the chapters. And if you have a custom chapter that is, let's say, an Ultramarine successor, and you buy the Ultramarine Codex supplement, will you then be able to have access to Ultramarine stratagems that maybe only Ultramarines or their like official canon successors have access to? I'm not sure how that'll work. My guess is that most likely we'll have access to that, just because then that lets GW sell more supplements. So basically the supplements are only existing to list stratagems, I suppose, separate from the codex, because otherwise the codex would just be huge if they're putting in stratagems for every single chapter. There might be a lot more listed this time around, as they are more chapter specific, because before there were like I think one or two per chapter that you could use that were chapter specific, but this might have a lot more. I'm just not sure exactly what supplements you're going to be bringing to the table if there's already a lot of stuff listed in the codex that have to do with chapters that are going to later see a supplement. So we'll really have to wait to see more as to what the supplements are going to bring. And I think since we've gotten a little preview here on kind of the codex and how the custom chapters will work, I think in the next previews we might start seeing these next few days will be on the supplements most likely, and we can start to see how that's going to play in. So we have if you want your chapter text to sit somewhere in the middle by giving a nod to those of your first founding chapter without fully committing to them, there are plenty of options. For example, Master Artisans represents one aspect of the Salamander's chapter tactics, namely the rerolls, granted by the exceptional craftsmanship of their war gear. So, Master Artisans, when a unit with this tactic fires Overwatch or is chosen to shoot or fight, you can reroll a single hit roll. So, basically, this is just half of their chapter tactic, and then we're looking down here. Meanwhile, Stealthy mirrors one of the abilities of the Raven Guard. So Stealthy, when resolving an attack made by a ranged weapon against a unit of this tactic by a model that is more than 12 inches away, that unit is treated as having the benefit of cover to its saving throw. So, yeah, right there we can definitely see, I don't know, the benefit of kind of mixing and matching these, but I'm curious how this works, or like how they split up, because I would say most of them have just kind of two rules that are their chapter tactics that is kind of rolled into one, and then they split them into two. But something like Iron Hands essentially has three rules. They have their 6-up Feel No Pain, a 5 and 6 Overwatch, and then their vehicles treat the damage table as basically they have double the wounds remaining. So I'm really curious, like, if are they going to split that up into three options, or are they going to still split it into two options? My guess, I suppose, would be three options. It would be kind of nice if they kind of grouped one in with the other, so either you get that 6-up Feel No Pain and the 5-6 Overwatch, or you get the 5-6 Overwatch with the double wounds remaining type of thing. I don't know how they would do it. It would be nice if that happens, but most likely it's going to be three separate tactics to choose from. So yeah, in either case, you'll still be free to select a second successor chapter to add your own narrative. And then they have like another example here of bolter fusillades, which long range marksmen. So the idea being these are some definitely at range with some good hit power, because any bolt weapon made with this tactic is rerolling hit rolls of 1, so you don't need to have like a captain around. You'll just be rerolling your hit rolls with 1 with this tactic, and then also you get to add 3 to ranged characters and ranged weapon models with this tactic. So this is giving 3 inches to everything. Your max range, your half range, so rapid fire weapons are getting a 1.5 inch extra to their half range. Another thing here that a lot of people have been pointing out is the fact that flamers now, which are auto hitting, just went from 8 inches out to 11 inches. So that's pretty big. So a lot of deep striking in, hitting at 11 inches, which already, I mean, if you think about drop pods, right? Drop pods come in, you can disembark 3 inches. So then from there you have an 8-inch range, and then on top of it you add another 3. So they're really, coming out of a drop pod, they have a 14-inch threat range right there with flamers. So you load them up, and you can definitely do some crazy damage with them. So let's see what else. And then again, another just narrative example of the size of the Emperor, getting a preferred enemy, and then you can pick, here it says Tyranids Eldarte or Heretic Astartes Necrons Tau, and their idea being, because they were almost wiped out by the Tyranids, so they have preferred enemy Tyranids, and then Indomitable, when a morale test is taken, this unit, with this tactic, no more than one model can flee. And then they have, again, this PDF that they have released before that you can download to customize, and they've actually added in where you can put your successor chapter traits. So they have actually right here, I believe. Let's see. Maybe we can open this up and take a look closer at what it has. Alright, so chapter motto, so chapter, successor trait, or tactics, and then, so everything else looks pretty much the same. They've just added this chapter, successor tactics, which is pretty convenient there. And that is it. So, really quick, down and dirty on this one. There's definitely a lot of things, like I said, I'm very interested in knowing how this is all going to work, and I actually wanted to I'm going to open up the previous article here, because, alright, so going down, so my current chapter tactics I use are Raven Guard. Now I'm trying to decide how I want to use that with my custom chapter, the Star Commanders. Now my background lore is that they are Alpha Legion Gene Seed that was created, in secret, because used all of the Legion Gene Seed, but definitely did not let everybody necessarily know, and a lot of people are under the impression that my chapter is actually Raven Guard successor, so I want to keep with that theme. I don't want to just jump around and be like, oh, well, you know what, Iron Hands have a pretty strong chapter tactic, so now they're Iron Hand successors. But I would like to make them a little bit more custom to kind of my own style, my own fluff. I don't want to just copy Raven Guard all the time necessarily, because I want them to kind of start to maybe deviate, and it kind of helps with the lore a little bit too, I think, with initially as they came out and Primaris came out and everything, I just, they were Raven Guard successors, or they, for all intents and purposes, since they're technically loyalists, and their chapter trait was the same as the Alpha Legion trait. So it just worked in perfect when the Chaos Codex came out, that they got the same rules as the Raven Guard. So that was I was glad that coincidence happened. That was perfect. But anyway, so keeping with that idea of as they've gone and separated and became more of their own chapter on their own, that they would maybe start to deviate from the actual tactics of the Raven Guard and develop their own way of fighting. And as such, I've been trying to figure out what do I want to do. So I definitely want to keep some of the tactics of the Raven Guard. And what they have is the 12 inches away, you are treated as having the benefit of cover. And then any non-vehicle in a terrain feature is a -1 to hit. So it's kind of I'm kind of at a tricky impasse here as to which one do I want to keep, because I do like the idea of, now that this applies to everything, all my vehicles, everything, having repulsors on the field more than 12 inches away are going to be 2-up saves. Like, I really like that. And then to include the idea of adding in the Iron Hands tactic of having the vehicle, let me roll down here. So in addition, models with this tactic have a damage table that are considered to have double the number of wounds remaining for the purpose of determining what row to use on the damage table. So I like that as well. So the idea of having repulsors with a 2-up save, and then they are having their double the number of wounds remaining on the damage table, like I feel like that's going to have some really good survivability, and they're going to be able to really continue to move and pack a good punch for a while, and really keep them on the table for a lot longer. Not just my repulsors, but my dreadnoughts, like all that. But at the same time, I keep thinking about how much minus AP there is on the table, and I'm kind of going back and forth, because it would be nice to still have some way to at least subtract their hits. So I'm really torn between which is kind of the more beneficial thing, because the -1 doesn't affect my vehicles. And it's really only my infantry units, and if they're in cover and 12 inches away. So it's like, if I went with the -1, it would be great for putting like Hellblasters in terrain, because no matter what, I mean, they're already going to be in cover, so that's a 2-up save. And then outside of 12, they're a -1, so that definitely gives them the survivability and some punch factor. But it doesn't help my vehicles at all. So even just now, as I'm talking out, I'm actually thinking about it. I'm leaning more toward that 2-up cover, just because it will be army wide. I don't think it's definitely not as good as it was before, as getting a -1 army wide. If that was still the case, no matter if you were in terrain or not, I would definitely go with the -1 to hit. Even though there are plenty of things that increase different ballistic skills for like Imperial Knights, I think have some kind of a stratagem that they can get a plus to their hit rolls, and then I'm sure the different orders from the Militarum, and then obviously different buff characters like captains and stuff that reroll ones and stuff like that. But I think overall I want a tactic that's going to affect my whole army, and I think a 2-up save for everything is better, just in the long run. And then it also will help with target saturation, as far as what are they going to shoot at, because most of my models, like Hellblasters and stuff like that, like most of my infantry things, I'm going to do my best to keep them in terrain. I want to get that 2-up cover, and keep at range and take out what I can. So Hellblasters sitting up in terrain, Eliminators, everything, as much as possible in terrain. So no matter what, they're already going to have that plus to their armor with the cover save. Of course, unless going to something against like Imperial Fist. That's the only downside I see to taking this tactic, and regardless being in terrain but having this tactic, I'm pretty sure, I guess, Imperial Fist just get to ignore that, which would be something that I kind of wish could kind of be FAQ'd in a way, because of the fact that it's like, I get from the Imperial Fist side of things, like they're good like siege masters, so still have an effect against models in terrain. But if that model is not in terrain but has a benefit of cover, I don't really see how Imperial Fist are the masters of taking out a model that's also the master of being stealthy. If you pop smoke and everything, that gives you a cover save. So how is it that Imperial Fist can fight smoke? I guess, I don't know. So that's kind of a weird way that rule works with other things, that they just get to ignore cover versus they get to ignore cover from terrain. I'm actually going to scroll up and make sure it doesn't say something like that. But if not, then that's a pretty good. So so it just says the target does not receive the benefit of cover to its saving throw if the attack was made with a bolt weapon or an okay. Yeah, so it doesn't say anything about like if the model's in terrain, it doesn't get the benefit of cover. It just says the model does not receive the benefit of cover from anything made with a ranged weapon. So that's a ranged weapon of any kind. That's not a bolter. Just bolt weapons get an additional hit on rolls of 6, but las cannons are not affected by cover, so they're still -3 and all that. So that's pretty nasty. So that's I don't know. I would hope that would get kind of FAQ, but that's just my own pipe dream of a thing. So, but yeah, so I think going forward, just for my own, I think as of right now, I'm very much leaning toward the Raven Guard, the 2 up outside of 12, right? Uh, yeah, so everything outside of 12 is going to get a 2 up save. And then I think probably with the Iron Hands one, I would probably take the damage table of wounds remaining, just so that way I have some longevity in my vehicles and armor, so I can actually continue to do some damage. Because that usually seems to be the thing that where my stuff just gets killed off too fast or gets down in wounds to the point where it's just not doing much. So it would be nice to have some longevity on the field with my tanks and stuff. Yeah, so I think for now I'm going to try that out. I definitely say that's going to be in the beta process of my chapter tactics here. Yeah, so I think we'll go with that for now as far as kind of what I guess choosing for them for now. So, all right, well, I guess we'll wrap this video up. Tell me what you all think. What are you thinking about the idea of your custom chapters and chapter tactics? Do you have any ideas right now that you can think of? And like I said, this is just my ideas now for my chapter. Obviously, it says in here there's like 19 chapter tactics to choose from. Let's scroll down. Yeah, they're from 19 listed in the Codex. So I mean, there's still 19 that we, or however many that we haven't seen. So, definitely a lot more potentially to choose from. So right now, that's the way I'm leaning. I'm definitely going to take one from the Raven Guard, and then my second one potentially would be that Iron Hands one, unless I find something else in that 19 listed in the Codex that just seems better or screams more, kind of fluffy to what I'm trying to do with my custom chapter. But yeah, so tell me what you think. Is there anything as of right now that you see? Are you planning on just taking a full-on First Legion or First Founding chapter tactic, or are you planning on kind of mixing and matching? Is there anything right now that you see that you like? Or are you kind of in the same boat where you kind of like something right now, but you kind of want to wait to see the whole Codex? But yeah, so let me know down in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please check out the rest of the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe, the notification bell, all that. Like the video. I definitely appreciate it. It helps me grow the channel, and helps me to just get better. And also, if you have any suggestions on how to make anything better, if there's any ideas or things you'd like to see, please let me know as well. And then also check out the Facebook page. It's in the link in the description below, and kind of see what I have going on there. I update pretty regularly there, and I also just share other projects that I'm working on, or other funny kind of things I find across the internet kind of related to 40K, but sometimes I deviate to some of my other hobbies and interests. But definitely check it out and give a like if you can, and I definitely appreciate it. And until next time.